Hello everyone, my name is Gary O'Mealy and I want to welcome you to my Human Physiology class. I am an assistant professor of biology at Tulsa Community College. And for those of you who are already subscribed to my channel, you might be wondering, well, you already have a whole battalion of physiology videos. Why are you recording more? Well, to really understand the answer to that question, we need to talk about the textbook for this course. So the textbook that we're using is one of the OpenStax textbooks. This is a combined anatomy and physiology textbook. They just came out with the second edition of this. The second edition does not exactly address problems that I had with the first edition, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. But the first thing we need to discuss about this textbook is what are the benefits to it? Well, the benefits to the OpenStax textbook are extremely easy to understand. The nice thing about OpenStax is that it is free to access online. You can just go to the OpenStax textbook and download a free PDF of the textbook. It doesn't cost anything. You have the PDF of the entire textbook with all the figures, all the text, everything else, right there on your computer that you can browse at your leisure. Now, as far as the problems we have with this textbook, well, where to begin on that? Well, number one, I have a bit of a problem with the fact that this is a combined anatomy and physiology textbook. It doesn't fit very well with the fact that this is not a combined anatomy and physiology class. This is a pure physiology class. So in order to have a good experience with this textbook, you're going to have to expertly navigate the textbook and make sure you're paying attention to the physiology and not getting bogged down on all the anatomy concepts. Some other problems I have with the textbook is that it is very text heavy. Go ahead and download the textbook and then just kind of scroll your way through the different chapters. You're going to find that there is a lot of text, a lot of exposition on a number of different topics, a lot of explanation, not very much in the way of visual aids, figures, diagrams, and things of that nature. And then the figures that are provided for this textbook, I do not feel are very high quality. I don't feel like they do an excellent job of explaining difficult to understand concepts. So we could spend all day here talking about the problems I have with this textbook. For better or worse, this is the textbook that is assigned to this class, and this is the one that we have to use. Now, how am I, as your instructor, going to get around the cons for this textbook? Well, one of the ways I'm going to do this is by providing my own homemade figures. So I have a really kind of core credo in that I think every important concept should have some sort of visual aid to accompany it. I was always, as a student myself, I was always a visual learner. I always did the best with things that had well-illustrated diagrams to go with them. So it's a considerable weakness, I think, for this textbook to not have a bunch of really good high-quality figures. So I am going to actually make my own figures using PowerPoint and a little bit of Photoshop here and there. I'm not promising that these figures are going to live up to the highest standard of artistic quality, but I think they're going to be good enough to get the point across on a number of what would otherwise be difficult to understand concepts. Now, one thing I could do is provide you with high-quality figures and diagrams from textbooks that I've taught from in the past, but the problem with that is that would be a copyright violation. Since the OpenStax textbook is the one that's assigned to the class, we actually have a license to use it, and I, as the instructor, have a license to provide you with the diagrams and the figures from that textbook. I can't provide figures from other textbooks because those are not the textbooks that are provided for this class. The students are not paying money to use those textbooks, so that's totally fair that we can't use figures from other textbooks. So the way around this is that any diagram that is not provided by OpenStax that I feel like they should be providing one, I'm going to provide one myself that I actually made myself. So since I made it myself and I am willingly providing it to you, the student, it's fair game for me to do that. So that's the deal. Anything that OpenStax, I think, is failing to do in terms of providing a satisfactory and easy to understand textbook, I'm going to try to shore that up as much as I possibly can. Now, as far as these videos go, there's going to be quite a few of them. If you look in my YouTube channel and in my YouTube library, the way I've done my videos in the past is each video was at least 15 minutes long and sometimes as long as an hour. That's way too long for a video to be. So the way I'm going to break this up is each major topic is actually going to have its own video covering it, and sometimes these topics will kind of branch out from chapter to chapter. That's another problem I have with the OpenStax textbook, and that I'm not in 100% agreement with the chronological order in which they provide a lot of their different concepts and kind of how they tell the story of how the human body operates. So each topic's going to have its own video covering it. Each topic in each video is going to be numbered, so you can just follow it in chronological order, start with video number 1, move on to video number 2, and so on and so forth. And my goal for these videos is for each video to be fairly short, no more than, say, 5 to 10 minutes. Now, for some topics like, say, protein folding, protein synthesis, and things like that, it's going to be kind of unavoidable for some videos to be a little longer than that, but I'm going to do everything I can to avoid that if possible. And then the other way that I'm going to try to craft these videos is that each video is going to contain a number of different cues for you to relate to what's going on in your OpenStax textbook, so that despite its flaws, you'll be able to get as much out of the OpenStax textbook as you possibly can. Now, if you take an example from the first video that you're going to see pop up on this channel, a video on homeostasis, you can see that the title of the video is clearly stated, but you're also being provided with some assigned reading. Now, the way to interpret this is that the first number, 1, refers to chapter 1 in the textbook, and then 1.4 and 1.5 are referring to sections 4 and section 5 in the textbook. And that should be fairly self-explanatory once you download the textbook and you take a peek inside. And then at the end of every video, I am going to provide a vocabulary list that should provide you with a pretty good idea of which terms you need to become acquainted with, if not now, then at least at some point in the future, because these are likely going to be pieces of terminology that are moving forward going to be very important for your holistic understanding of how the human body works. And then finally, I will provide another slide called Check Your Understanding that is going to provide you with some more philosophical questions, not something that you necessarily need to be able to answer with 100% accuracy right after you watch the video for the first time. More of something to just kind of chew on, a little bit of food for thought, something that hopefully with time and reflection you will be able to answer. And if you're a student in my class at TCC, these are questions that I absolutely would like you to think about and ponder on before coming to class the next day, and if necessary, these can be things that we discuss. All right, well, that's going to do it. I'm really looking forward to having you in my class if you're at TCC, and if you're just someone out there on YouTube, I hope you find these videos helpful for in the future. So long, and be looking forward to all of my videos. See you later.